So the general rule if you have 26-day cycle is that you should count 5 days from. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is giftieonyi. Just in case you're seeing me for the first time, so in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how I count my menstrual cycle and the different hacks that I use to count my menstrual cycle instead of using menstrual cycle calendar app, which has disappointed me several times. So I don't usually use that, and instead of counting with your finger, cracking your head, using your phone calendar and getting confused, I'm going to be showing you the hacks that I use to make it easier for me to count my menstrual cycle. So if you're interested, keep on watching. If you go to the hospital for pelvic scan, or if you're pregnant and you want to know the delivery dates for your baby, the doctor usually asks you your LMP, your last menstrual cycle, and sometimes you just get confused because you don't know, maybe you don't know how to count, or you're just too busy to start counting. This video is really going to help you and also help your doctor to make accurate diagnosis and to give you the accurate date for your delivery. And to make it easy for you to count your menstrual cycle, this is where the hacks comes in. I'll be showing you these hacks for 26-day cycle and for 28-day cycle. I understand that many people can have cycle lengths from 21 days to 40-day cycle. If you have this cycle length and you don't know how to count your menstrual cycle, or you don't know the hacks to use, let me know in the comment section and I'm going to put that up in my next video. First of all, I'm going to be showing you how to count your menstrual cycle. So to count your menstrual cycle, you have to take notes of the first day of your period. You should count from the first day of your period to the last day before your next menstrual period. For instance, if I'm counting from the month of May, let's say my menstrual cycle started on the 2nd of May. So I'll start counting from the 2nd of May to the last day before my next period starts. So if I have 21 days cycle, for instance, and I start counting from the 2nd of May, my next cycle will be on the 23rd of May, because my last period will actually end on the 22nd of May. So my next period is going to start on the 23rd. So it means I should start getting ready, my pad and everything should be ready before the 23rd. If I have 26-day cycle and I'm counting from the 2nd of May, counting from 2nd of May to 27th will give me 26 days. So my next period will be on the 28th of May for 26-day cycle. Then if I have 28-day cycle and I'm counting from the 2nd of May, my next period will be on the 30th of May, because from 2nd to 29 will give you 28 days. So my next period will be on the 30th of May. So I'm going to be showing you the hacks for 26-day cycle and 28-day cycle. If you have 28-day cycle and you don't want to go through the stress of counting with your fingers or getting confused when you're using your phone calendar or writing it down and all of that, you can actually calculate this with your head. So if your cycle is 28 days, the hack to use is that you should just count 3 days backwards from the first day of your period. So okay, let me still use 2nd of May as an instance. So if the first day of your period was 2nd of May, counting from 2nd of May backwards, I'm still going to get 30th of May, which was what I calculated previously when counting 1 with my calendar. So let's see. So 2nd of May is the first day of my period. So I'll not count 2nd of May. I'll start counting from 1st of May. So 1st, 31st, 30th. So that is that. So my next period is going to be on the 30th of May. So this hack works for months that ends with 31st. That if you're counting from a month that ends with 31st, you should count 3 days backwards from the first day of your period. But if you're counting from a month that ends with 30th, then you should count 2 days backwards. For instance, if I'm counting from the month of June, then I have to just count 2 days backwards to get an accurate date for my next period. So let's see if this is actually correct. So if the first day of my period is 2nd of May, like I said, and my next cycle is on the 30th of May, so if I'm counting from 30th of May as the first day of my period, then I'm still going to get the same 3 days because May ended with 31st. So, and I haven't gotten to 30th June yet, so I'll just count 3 backwards and I'll be getting 27th as my next period for the month of June. I'll count 29, 28, and then 27th. So 27th will be the next day for my next menstrual cycle in June. Now that we have 27th as the first day of my period in June, and I now want to count for my next period in July. Remember that June ended with 30th. So I'm going to count 2 backwards to get the same date as when I count it with my calendar or when I count with my fingers. So I'm not going to count 27th. I'll count 26th, 25. My next period will be on 25. So for 26 days cycle, what I usually do is that I count 5 days from the first day of my last menstrual period. So the general rule if you have 26 days cycle is that you should count 5 days from the first day of your last menstrual cycle. Count 5 days backwards if you're counting from a month that ends with 31st. But if you're counting from a month that ends with 30th, count 4 days backwards. Take for instance myself, I have 26 days cycle and my LMP was on 11th of this month. That is the first day I saw my menstruation for this month. That's 11th of June. So if I want to know the next day for my period, if I want to know the next day of my period, remember that June ends with 30th, so I'm going to count 4 days backwards. So 4 days, counting from 4 days backwards, I should be getting 7th of July as my next period, as the day my next period will start. So let's count 11th, right? So I'm not going to count 11th of June, so I'll be counting 10, 9, 8, 7th. Remember, I'm counting 4 days backwards because June ended in 30th. But if I should do it for months that ends with 31st, let's take the 2nd of May, the same instance I used previously as an example. If I'm counting from May, from the 2nd of May, if I'm using 2nd of May as my LMP, then I'm going to be getting 28th of May as the next day of my period. So to check if this is actually correct, let's use my hack and see if it's actually correct. Remember, my LMP was on 2nd of May, like I used in the previous example, 22nd of May. So if I should count backwards, 1, that's 1st, 31st, 30th, 29, 28th. So 28 is my next period, which is actually correct if I should count with my fingers or my calendar, and this is actually what we got in my previous example. So that is that for 26 day cycle. If you have 26 day cycle, just count 5 days backwards from the first day of your LMP, of your last menstrual period, the first day that you started bleeding. Just count 5 days from that day backwards. The day that you get is the day to expect your next period for the month that ends with 31st. But if you're counting from the month that ends with 30th, just count 4 days backwards, like I gave in my examples. Just count 4 days backwards. If you're having 28 day cycle, count 3 days backwards from the first day of your LMP for months that ends with 31st. But if you're counting from a month that ends with 30th, count 2 days backwards and you get the day to expect your next period. So please, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something from me, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment and subscribe. Also share to your friends. I really appreciate that if you share to your friends so that they can also learn from this video.